Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another edition of whatever the heck I want to say. And I just got back from Jamaica a few days ago, and I just wanted to reflect on a little bit about what happened during the trip. Hopefully someone could get something out of this. If not, that's too bad. But if you can, then I welcome you to come back at another time and tell somebody else about it. But for the meantime, I just want to quickly, as quick as I can, go over some of the things that happened. What I learned from being in Jamaica. Of course, you know I was in Jamaica for a few days last week. And it seemed like another world, because in essence it kind of is. They don't have a lot of the, let's say, luxuries that we have here in the United States of America. But with that being said, you ever been someplace and you expected it to be a certain way, and when you get there you see that it's really not? Now, I've been to Jamaica before, but probably more than 20 years ago, and I was a little kid then, and it was after a hurricane named after me, Hurricane Gilbert, that pretty much destroyed the island. It's known for leaving the island and making its way around and coming back and destroying everything in the island. So people kind of still remember that there. I remember being in Jamaica during a little bit after Hurricane Gilbert, and everybody kind of had a joke about what it meant to be named Gilbert and what Gilbert did to the island. And yeah, so I guess it was a great starter for conversation. First thing I want to say about Jamaica is you can't get into Jamaica unless you have an address as to where you are going before you get there. What I mean is, when you get to Jamaica, if you are not a citizen of the island, when you get to customs, they will ask you where will you be going, and they will ask you for that address and the name of the location. When I got there, I intended to find a place once I got there and perhaps have the taxi driver drive me around until I find a place like I do in most places. but they needed to know exactly where I was going to be staying. When I got there, we were directed to this table that dealt with these kind of technical issues, and we were recommended to a place that was about $60 a night. And I can say the place was pretty good. It was about 5 minutes from the beach, and Montego Bay, this is not Kingston. We went to Montego Bay. And one thing I can say is that Montego Bay is pretty much a happening tourist place. They have this area called the Hip Strip, where it's like saying the main road of any U.S. suburban city, where they have most of the stores and outlets. And then after that is just countryside, a lot of trees and cars. One thing I noticed was that most of the shops were selling products of Bob Marley, marijuana, the Jamaican flag wrapped with marijuana, sexualized products of black people, sexualized products of what people expect to see when they get to the island. They had a lot of Jamaican sayings. They had Jamaican dictionaries. This is something I remember from 20 years ago when I was there too. They had dictionaries of how to speak Jamaican, and it was supposed to be a funny thing. I guess a novelty gift for people who have not visited the island. But I can say that the place where I stayed was for $60 a night. They had in-room air conditioning. They had a small TV, which I really don't care about when I go traveling. They had twin beds. They had a nice view, perhaps the best part about it, the great view of the ocean. And you can see endless, just clear green and blues of the ocean. And all for $60 a night, which is pretty good, pretty impressive. Now, at the airport, we had to tell them we didn't know where we were staying because they needed an address. So the information desk at the office recommended this place. They didn't really recommend it. They just kind of said, well, there's this place that's kind of low budget. It's 2 stars. They have the basics, but the basics in Montego Bay is perhaps what you would get for maybe the same rate in some place like Mumbai or India, but it actually will be a little cheaper. Over there you can probably get a room for about $15 to $30 a night. So I was pretty impressed where I was staying. Clean floors, no insects inside the room, no smell of cigarettes. The bathroom was pretty basic but clean. Towels were clean, the beds were clean, and they were made every other day. One thing that I can say is that once you get to the airport, you're going to have private taxis, which will charge you about, or try to charge you, about $15 for about 7 minutes of driving, which is maybe about a mile. About a mile from where the airport is. You don't have to take these taxis. The regular rate to the airport should not cost you more than $4 to $5. Argue if you have to, bargain down, but you don't have to pay that price. Once we get to the hotel, the guy downstairs, you'll see he'll most likely, oh, by the way, the name of the hotel is the Caribbean Hotel, Carbic Hotel. He looks kind of nervous, especially when you go at the beginning of tourist season. They don't expect a lot of people to stay beyond the regular 1 or 2 days. So he's going to try to make a good impression. And he might not expect you to stay, but the room, again, was very clean. The place had 3 floors. and it's surrounded by two giant structures. One hotel that's 14 stories, and then another one that's in the making. It's about 10 stories. But right in the middle is this Caribbean hotel, and it has 3 stories. But what I like about it, it had a lot of greenery, a lot of big plants, giant plants. It had a couple mango trees on the premises, coconut tree. On the 3rd floor is where I stayed. They had about 4 rooms, unoccupied, so there was no noise, and this great view of the ocean. Now, downstairs, again, like I was saying, you'll see a lot of shops. You'll see a lot of shops catered to the tourists, not the local. And these shops have a lot of Jamaican-themed products, Bob Marley face everywhere, marijuana everywhere, and over-sexualized products everywhere, which can be fun, but at the same time, you wonder how the locals feel about it. And not only that, but many of these shops are tended by Indians from India, East India, that have relocated to Montego Bay to live there, looking for a better life, and a lot of them have been successful. Now, these are shops that have Indians from Indian states like Hyderabad, which is the technology capital of the world, and you wonder if they came down there because they couldn't find work or just because there's so many people competing for work in Hyderabad, India. I didn't know. I didn't get the answer. But these Indian shops have built a community where if one doesn't have a product, they'll run across the street and get the product from another Indian person, or he'll go 2 shops over and get the product so they can eventually make that sale. So I like the way that they set up community in that fashion. When I got there, I experienced a fight with one Jamaican, having a fight with one of the Indian shopkeepers, and it was basically over the right to be there. And that's something I didn't get too much into while I was there. I couldn't get a straight answer. Basically, people were just saying that it's, it's just, it's nothing. They want to put their best face forward. One thing that you will get is a lot of people asking you to buy marijuana, and you will get profiled, especially if you look a certain way. I have dreadlocks, the color of my skin. So you might want to think this might be a normal thing, because depending on how you look and the experience that they had with people that look like you beforehand, profiling might be a normal thing. Can you break stereotypes? I think so. I think by the 70th time that I said no, they finally realized that this is a guy who's not going to buy weed. They'll stop me and say, hey Ross, yes, everybody, we have that herb, we have that Bob Marley, we have that Kush. Found out it's illegal in Jamaica to carry around more than 1 ounce of marijuana, but the people who are selling you marijuana in the street will pretty much try to sell you up to 1 pound, which is illegal, and they can go to jail for a long time for that. But that didn't stop people from offering it to you. And a lot of people go to Jamaica for that reason. So you have to realize, well, this is how a lot of people make their livelihood. You have to realize if you don't smoke, it will get annoying. But if you go there for these types of things, you'll probably be in a second paradise, not only for the beach and for the natural realm, but also for being out there and smoking it up. But moreover, I would say that I ate in 2 Indian restaurants while I was there. One was closest to the airport, and it had a marvelous view of the airport. And it was actually 400 feet up from ground level. And that's, again, it was strange because it had a Jamaican side and it had an Indian side. And the Indian side seemed to be out doing the Jamaican side. And they were expanding the kitchen to be able to fit a lot more orders than they do for lunch and for dinner. And this is the type of thing that I didn't expect to see. It's close. Another thing I didn't expect to see was one store owner drive me to another restaurant just because he wanted his friend to get that business. And that's the kind of thing that made me realize if you really want to do business within your people, is to encourage business with your people. Now, by that, I mean, he could have easily just said, you know what, there's a store up there that it's an Indian guy who's selling food. But instead of doing that, he said, well, you know what, I'm going to drive these people to the store that's about, to the restaurant that's about a mile away, just so that other person can get the business. And all that money stays within this community. And I was really impressed by that. Because not only after driving us to the restaurant, he waited to see that everything was okay. The owner from this convenience store, he drove us back to our hotel just because it was late at night. So that's the kind of thing that you don't see in a lot of places, especially in a place that has a lot of abundance. Made me think, the more help you need, the nicer you are. The more help you need, the nicer you become. Especially in a place that doesn't have a lot of Indian people, but they're slowly getting there and they're expanding their businesses. And the locals may have not come to terms that you're there. You want to encourage your reputation by adding to your reputation as being business oriented, going the extra mile, literally, for customer service. And that's something that you don't see in a lot of places like New York or even Boston, Miami, where if they don't do business with you, they can do business with someone else. But just as someone who has his own business, it teaches you something about customer service. So that really made an impression on me. And yeah, I wrote a few good reviews online on Yelp and TripAdvisor just because they didn't have to do that, and they did. And these were people who didn't necessarily look like me. They didn't necessarily look like the people that are on the island. But they said, well, doesn't matter who's around me, I'm going to do what's inside of me to do. And the lesson I got from that was, doesn't matter what other people are doing. If you are a certain way, you are a certain way. It doesn't matter if this person was not known for being professional. Well, you can be known for being professional. It's not about what someone else wants to do, or how someone else made you feel before that person, but it's what you're going to do with the moment that you have with the people in front of you. Even today, I was going to a swimming pool, and there's a police officer who's guarding this bike marathon that they had here. And I see how people who look a certain way, who look black, they kind of stay away from the police officers, because right now the media is trying to tell you that they're against you because of the color of your skin, which is false, which is wrong, and which is kind of underhanded and an evil way to portray anyone. And when you say something like that, they make you feel like you have to say, well, it's not all of them, or it's not all of them. You don't have to say that, because once you're understood, you're understood. I asked the officer, where is the swimming pool? The officer was as nice as he can be. It was a black officer, heavy set, and he was extremely helpful. He not only pointed me in the right direction, he got out of his car and made sure I was able to see it. But the one thing that I did was I approached him with a sense of respect. I approached him with the same respect I would show to a 3-year-old little girl, and I approached him with the same respect I would show to a 98-year-old woman, and everyone else in between. And going back to that thought, when people are in a position of need, they are nicer. But also, when you approach someone with respect, most of the time, unless they have some kind of psychological issue, they are going to respond to you in a positive way. And that's a story you're not going to hear anywhere. With that being said, I want to say going to Jamaica was very needed. With that being said, I want to say that going to Jamaica was something unexpected, but being there in a place where it's very hard to get Wi-Fi, it's very hard to get calls if you have a phone from another place. They have their own service. They have something called Digicel. But you don't realize how much you need to be disconnected, or how you feel like to be disconnected, because we're so used to being connected. And I just remember going to the front office and complaining the first day that the Wi-Fi was in and it was out, and I was having problems maintaining a steady connections because I had to write people from my work, and also some clients, and also some people who I said I was going to write back to. But there's no better drug than a clear head. You get to see where you've been messing up. You get to see where you want to put more effort into, or what you don't want to put more effort into. I want to see a commercial for that on television. There's no better drug than a clear head. Not Adderall, not erectile dysfunction pills, not MAC makeup, not something that's going to have a million side effects, not any weight loss pills that you probably not going to appreciate because for whatever reason. But there's no better drug than a clear head, a clear mind, space to take in your own thoughts. There's beauty in self-reflection, something that we don't do enough of. There's nothing more beautiful than asking the question why, as to why things are the way they are. I was able to go to a Rastafarian village in Montego Bay and really question them about their beliefs and really get a lot of footage about why they feel the way they feel. I asked them about homosexuality and why they're so against it. I asked them about the importance of dreadlocks. I asked them about the importance of being free and not following other religions that came after their indigenous religions. I asked them about a lot of things that people don't get the chance to ask them about. I didn't agree with most of the things they said. Actually, that's wrong. Actually, I agreed with most of the things they said, but I didn't agree with everything they said. But I don't have to agree with everything someone says to listen. Most of the problems that arise out of communication is just because the way that we communicate is not to take in the information that's being given to us. It's because we're waiting to speak. We're waiting for a chance to show that we're not dumb because we're insecure about our own intelligence. I've had several conversations this last week and the week before that where I just was filled inside with the energy that people have been given to me, and that's something that is being discouraged by your news, by your governments, by your friends, by posts that people put up, by people feeling that they can't talk because they feel triggered because of labels of black, of atheist, of Christian, of empowered, of woke, things that really have no bearing on your life, all things that are put there to waste your time. The only thing you can't get back in this life. With that being said, I'm going to say that Jamaica has to be one of the most beautiful places I have ever been to. There's a beauty that comes with not being connected and being forced to be in someone's face. There's a spontaneity that comes with just looking into someone's eyes and them feeling your energy and you feeling theirs, and not knowing what's going to happen. That kind of makes you feel alive. You understand what it's like to be a woman. You understand what it's like to be a man. And you're not ashamed for any of those things. There's beauty in not being tense. And that's what the news gives you. That's what people around you give you. That's what trying to stay informed gives you. But you're not really being informed. You're just being heightened psychologically, mentally. And you're being drained of the joy in your life, of the peace in your life. No one is taking it from you. It's not the cops. It's not white supremacy. I didn't hear the word nigger one time in Montego Bay, and they were all black people. I didn't hear the word nigger one time in Montego Bay, and they were all black people. But then you have to ask yourself the question. The word nigger, as much as people try to defend it, has changed definition from the 70s to the 90s. The 70s, it was in the dictionary as meaning a stupid person. By the time the 90s came around, it was referred to in a dictionary of a person primarily of the black African race. This is a trick that people play with words. To get you to feel a certain way, to get you to feel like you're smaller than you are, to get you to focus on things that have no bearing on your life, to take time away from your family, to take time away from you just being at peace. Notice you get out from your bed, the first thing that you get when you wake up is that ring from your phone, and they're telling you, well, the phone is telling you pretty much, guess what happened? You need to know this happened. Something happened that you need to know about. So you're paying this bill every month to be controlled by something this small that has more bearing on your life than the people around you, than the world around you, the nature around you, the energy around you. And this is what we consider to be advanced. I'm telling you, one day in Jamaica, I realized if there ever was any kind of war to break out, we would be at a disadvantage because we have lost a lot of the things that we had just 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. That sense of confidence that comes from being able to face the world without anything but your heart and your mind. That spirit that built great things, that put up pyramids, that spirit that put an airplane that for 4 hours it can stay in the sky, and land at its exact destination. That same spirit that is inside of you, you're giving it away to someone else. You're giving it away because this is what's in now. This is what's encouraged. They said you need it, you said I want it. They said you want it, you say I need it. Your parents didn't grow up with this. And now it's a need. There's a lot broken. Can you fix it? Yes, you can fix it. You can fix it. Right? You break it, you fix it. If you break something, you can fix it. You have a lot of power inside of you. But it doesn't come from exterior things. It doesn't come from makeup. It doesn't come from eyelashes. It doesn't come from muscles. I wasn't able to go to the gym the whole time that I was there. But I improvised. I hung from the balcony and started doing chin-ups. And I almost fell, and it didn't really happen like that. It's time for people to start taking their life seriously. When you realize in one day you do about 4, 5, 6 different things, it's not the government that's taking the things away from you. It's not the police that's taking things away from you. It's you who handed it over. I'm not talking about, yes, I know everyone has to work, but there's certain things that we are giving up because we feel that our life is not our own. We feel that life is dependent on the approval of other people. I saw someone put up a post today that said depression comes from seeking the approval of other people. But no one knows how beautiful you can be because you haven't given it a chance. Your parent thinks you should have a baby by a certain age. You wrote a song and you think that no one should be able to hear it because it doesn't sound good. I went to a party the other day and I was speaking to a young man from Iraq, and he was telling me that he's been living in California for the last 4 years, working in a convenience store, and he hasn't spoken to his father in about 8 years because his father thinks that he's a homosexual. And he doesn't let his father hear his songs because his father doesn't feel that men should have feelings. And he gets on him for it, and his mother just takes his father's side and agrees with him. He played his song for me for the first time, and he couldn't even finish the song because he started getting memories of his father. And he thought that the world would judge him the same way that his father is judging him. The people that will hold you back a lot of times are the people who are closest to you. There's nothing that I say that is new. I'm just repeating information that's already out there. I'm working it out as I go along. But I see when people are trying to keep the truth away from certain people because they don't want people to be the best that they can be, which is kind of normal. Why would someone tell you that you're okay when you live in a place that depends on your ignorance? I'm going to repeat that one more time. Why would someone tell you you're fine the way you are, or tell you the things you need to hear to better your situation, when you're living in a place that's benefiting off of your ignorance. How many kids in school know how to do their taxes, how to build a resume, where to go to employment, where to go for employment by the time they graduate high school, let alone college? How many people know the kind of foods or what goes into your food at lunch, at home, when you break from work, and you've been eating all of your life? How many people are going to church every Sunday and worshiping something that they've never seen? One good thing that I learned at the Rastafari camp was when the Rasta sat down with me and he said, before the colonials came to Africa, if one man or one tribe had a problem with another tribe, they would go personally and try to handle it themselves. If one tribe or one man or one family had a problem with another family or one tribe or one person, they would try to handle it themselves. By the time the colonials came, instead of going to that other person directly, they started looking up and out into a universe for their answers. Ignorance. Ignorance. When you're living in a place that's benefiting off of your ignorance, you have to know how to look for certain signs. To debrief yourself, to decode misinformation. And again, why would someone want to tell you the truth? I don't blame the system. Why would someone want to teach you the things you need to learn when the system is benefiting off of it? Why would the casino want to tell you how to win at the slots? Why would they want to do that? It's not in their benefit. It's in your benefit, but then again, who cares? You could kick the machine all you want. There's no day that the news is going to tell you, don't watch today. The theme every day on the news is stay stressed, stay angry. Smoke weed. Drink some more. Don't drink. Men suck. Women be angry. Don't try because you're going to fail. Don't send your kids to school. They're going to get attacked. You might get a disease if you have sex. You might get a disease if you don't have sex. But don't advertise contraception. Sell more guns. Sell less guns. But don't teach interaction from one person to the other. Watch these channels. Don't watch these channels because they're racist. Because they're liberal, because they don't believe in God, because they don't believe in abortion. When does it stop? When do you give your brain a break? When does that happen? When will you give your brain a chance to function? What will you come up with? if you weren't thinking about the environment every 2 seconds? What will you come up with if every day the first thing that you heard was, this is what the president is doing? Stop him. Vote this way. Don't talk to me if you voted this way. When no one cares who you voted for, and a lot of the people who say they didn't vote for the president are lying. There's no way he would have made it without it. Those people lying. There's no way. Give more power to kids because they're young and they can influence a society. If you want to believe that. If you want to believe that. Don't listen to grandma, she's old. She's someone to be made fun of on TV, in movies. At what point do you give your brain a rest? At what point do you stop giving power to things that don't matter? Think this way because you are black. Think this way because you're Hispanic. Think this way because blacks are the same as Hispanic. Think this way because Hispanics and blacks are not the same. Think this way because white people are against us. Think this way because liberals hate us. Think this way because I told you so. Think this way because Simon said. Think this way because Simon didn't say. The question that you will never have posed to you by any of these sources is, why? The option that you think you never have is the option to say no. What is a public school? Why is it free? Because we believe that kids should be educated. Really? What is the purpose? Mother's Day. A half-assed Father's Day. What is the purpose? At what point do you stop letting people invade your life? At what point does your life become yours? I don't know. But you may. Thank you. Thank you. The time says it's about 45 minutes, and I may want to come back later, so I don't want to stay here beyond the 45-minute mark. Thank you very much, and do your best. Gracias.